Now, how about reading out your file's metadata? What's metadata? Well, metadata is information that's actually embedded into your files, graphic or otherwise. So in other words, sometimes you might have an audio file or a video file that might even have some metadata embedded into it. So what I want to do is I want to start reading off some of the metadata that's actually applied to our images. Now, what's interesting to note here is some of our images will have more metadata than others. What am I talking about here? Well, keep your eye on the metadata panel down in the bottom right corner, at least down in my bottom right corner. And I have Apple's .jpeg selected here, and I get a little bit of information here in terms of the document size, in terms of the pixel dimensions, the resolution, 72 pixels per inch or PPI, the file size, just 19 kilobytes or 19K. But as I start clicking around inside some of the different images, I'm going to get either more or less information showing up inside the metadata panel. It all depends on how much metadata is actually associated with the file. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and grab one of my barn photos because I actually took these photos. I took these photos with my digital camera, so I know a little bit about my digital camera, and I know a little bit about some of the different settings that I use whenever I shoot with it. So I'm going to grab one of the barns here, and as before, I'm just going to drag out the panel here just so we can see the panel a little more clearly on screen here. I'm not really concerned with the preview there. What I do want to see is this stuff right in here. So inside the metadata panel, starting off in the top here, we get a little bit of information here like ISO information and so on. And then as I had mentioned before, we get the dimensions of the file in pixels. So just over 2,500 pixels in width by just shy of 2,000 pixels in height. We have the file size, so just shy of 1.5 megabytes or megs, 72 pixels per inch as before, or PPI. My camera color profile is RGB, so I have an RGB image that I'm looking at here, or in other words, an image that's made up of red, green, and blue. Okay, now what else do we have inside here? Well, I'm going to start off with file properties. I'm just going to twist open that sort of that category there. There's the file name, barn1.jpg. The document type, it's a JPEG file. Application, it's version 1. When was this photo taken, or when was the file created? It was created all the way back in 2007 on the 11th of November, it looks like there. And it was modified in 2009. There's our file size again, our dimensions again. And then we also get dimensions in inches, which is handy to know. And then there's our resolution once again, as well as some additional information, the bit depth, and then the color mode, RGB, and the color profile, camera, RGB profile. Okay, great. I'm going to go and collapse that down. Then we have our IPTC core category. Now, what you can do here is you can go and add in some information here. If you took this photo, then you can click on this little pencil icon here, and you can go and add in some information here. I could put in my name, I could put in my job title, my address, city, and so on and so on and so on, and associate all of this information to this photograph so that other people that use this photograph know where it came from, right? Kind of neat. Anyway, I'll go ahead and collapse that down. Below that, we have some information that's pulled right off of my camera. So my exposure mode was auto, the focal length in 35mm film, my aperture value, the flash did not fire, and so on, right? And by the way, this is kind of cool. There's my camera. My camera is a Panasonic. It's a Lumix DMC FZ30, an awesome camera. I love messing around with my camera. Anyway, I'll close out of that. And then if this happened to be an audio file, I could add in the artist, the album name, the track number, and so on. And you know, if it were a video file, I could add in things like the tape name and the scene and the shot or the take and so on. Right? So again, this is all information that gets associated with your file. So there's audio, there's video, there's DICOM, there's mobile SWIFT or shockwave flash. So you can add to this stuff if you want, but really in the real world, it's more about finding out information about our individual graphics, when they were created, the dimensions, the resolution, the color mode, and this sort of thing. And this stuff's really handy for a guy like me who doesn't want to have to open up every single image just to see what the dimensions are and what the color space is and what kind of resolution I'm working with.